Anderson. I'm really glad to be here this evening. As you can tell, we have a really amazing evening planned, and Mayor Blad, you just brought that level right up for us. We're going to do this meeting like we do all of our meetings, so that if you're thinking about joining us, you'll get a taste for what we do here. I'm your Toastmaster for the evening, and what that means is that I tell you what the theme of the day is. I explain to you what the segments are that we participate in, mainly speeches, table topics, and evaluations. And speeches are usually prepared speeches. They're timed. They usually have a goal in mind for the speaker. And then the evaluations at the end is the educational portion, where the evaluator gives the speaker the positive points, and if there's something that they maybe need to improve on, they gently slide that in there so that their speech can be very well-rounded. Table topics is a very creative process. Someone will give you a question or a story, and you have 1 to 2 minutes to respond to the story or the question. And what that does is that prepares you for water cooler conversation, no matter where you're at. So we look forward to those things tonight. The theme of the meeting tonight is water. And we live in a great place. We have the Snake River Aquifer, which is amazing. If you talk to anybody from the ISU who's in the geology department, that is their prized possession in this area, is the water. I know about 3 things about water. One is that our bodies are made up of 60 to 75% water. Now, my daughter, who is a personal trainer and a health nut, says that you should drink 50% of your body weight in water. I like to swim in the water. I don't like my organs to swim in the water, but it does make you feel much better. The second thing I know about water is that 71% of the earth is covered in water. 95% of that is the oceans. So salt water. We also have fresh water, and then aquifer water. The third thing I know about water, I'm a quick learner because I just looked this up last night, is water comes in 3 different forms. It comes in a solid, it comes in a liquid, and it comes in a gas. Now, if you're gas, you're happy because you get all 3 in the gas. And I personally don't care for the solid form so much, especially when it falls from the sky. I like the liquid form. I like to swim in it. I like to drink it. And I like to dance in it. So that's our theme for tonight. And we usually follow the theme sometimes when we do the table topics. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to introduce to you our general evaluator for the evening. And he will introduce his team of people who help make this meeting go smoothly. Our general evaluator for the night is Al Norbeck.
One of the nicest things about Toastmasters that helps everyone is what you're doing right. Everyone thinks when you get evaluated or critiqued, or what's the old adage about criticism? No, this is a safe place. This is a place where people come to work on different topics. Like Lori said, we don't evaluate the content. That's yours. How you want to present it is what we're going to help you do. And tonight we'll have evaluators for the 2 speeches that we're having tonight. One of them is Al Coombs, and the other one is our coach, Christine. Yes.
Al, did you look at the agenda?
Yes, that's what it says.
Okay,
Right there in black and white.
Right there in black and white. You printed it. This is what also happens in our club. A lot. And you learn how to punt and step aside. In fact, I'm going to tell you a quick story. My wife is in a band. They're called the Mighty Rock Farmers. And they used to have a prior band. And we went to a political rally where they performed one time. And they were opening it up to people to speak. And she and I were standing there like oh, this is going to end badly. Because they opened mic. But the person running the meeting didn't know how to kind of get people off that talked too long, or they didn't know how to tell someone how to plan the meeting. The first person who got up spoke for 20 minutes. By then, we had changed it so that everybody only spoke for like 3 minutes. And they were so grateful to us. We said, come to Toastmasters. You'll learn how to do this. So that's one of the things that helps. The other two things is we've already experienced tonight. Tara is our timer, and so for each speech, evaluation, or table topics, she'll raise 3 cards. Would you like to explain how you do that?
Yes. As we kind of explained a little bit earlier, when you have a 5 to 7 minute speech, I'll raise it up when it gets to 5 minutes, and then I get in the green. So it just lets you know that you're there at 5 minutes. And when it gets to the middle, which is 6 minutes, I'll put up the yellow, so you know you're getting closer to being to the red, which is the 7 minutes. And I'll hold it up for 30 seconds, right? And then I'll put it down for 30 seconds. And then you know you're in big trouble because you went way over.
Then we get the book, and that's when your Toastmaster here kicks you and says, okay, quit. What about for table topics?
Table topics, green is for 1 minute, yellow is for 1.5 minutes, and red is for 2 minutes.
And then the same 30 seconds.
So yeah, you know yellow is in the middle.
The evaluators already know it's normally 2 to 3, 2, 2.5, 3. Our other person that's going to help us in other ways to get better is my lovely wife, Teresa. Would you like to tell us what the grammarian does?
No.
Will you tell us
Yes,
what the
I
grammarian does? He does that to me all the time.
It is my job as an ISU graduate and alum to check.
Go
the
Bengals.
Yeah. That was it. To listen to the speech, to hopefully catch little glitches that possibly happen, lots of ums, ahs. My personal favorite word is so. Bridges that really should not be there. Also checking for lovely usage of the English language. So
And what's
that
the
will-
word of the day that we try?
And
We try to
that's-
increase our vocabulary, so we always assign a word of the, well, your vice president of education assigns a word of the day. And I have only picked words that I've either seen in print or heard. And I thought, we should use that word more. And that's the words that I picked.
An excellent one. Would you share that with us today?
What do you think?
What it is.
It's prim.
Thank you. So the word of the day is prim, which usually talks about being very proper in your manners and how you speak and how you act.
Thank you. And with that, at the end, I'll not only allow the evaluators to evaluate the speeches, and I will give a general evaluation of the meeting at that point. At this point, I'll turn it back over to our Toastmaster.
I will introduce each of the speakers.
I'm second.
He's just checking. And our first speaker will be Stephanie Hokirk. This is her introduction. She sent it to me. I'm not reading a letter from my child. Actually, this is okay. Stephanie's speech is entitled Guilt-Free Thanksgiving. I'm in for this one. Behold what you are, become what you receive. By St. Augustine. Stephanie.
For anticipation, I promise. There we go. Hello, my name is Stephanie Hokirk. I am a certified group fitness instructor, and I've worked with public health. I actually was able to do the research for and help write a health programming curriculum in the state of Missouri with the University of Missouri Extension Office. So health and nutrition is something that I have a huge passion about and is really something that I enjoy talking about. And today I'm going to torture you with Thanksgiving because welcome to November. So, the FDA recommends a 2,000 calorie diet. One of the cool things about doing a research speech like this one is that I get to look up lots of information and cry a little bit, especially when I see the calories involved in Thanksgiving. The website, consumerreports.org, was they said that they were going to be very lax in their caloric count of some of these things. So take it with a bit of a grain of salt. So starting at 11 o'clock, canned sweet potatoes are worth 187 calories. You have half a cup of green beans for 227. And when you go all the way around the circle, the total is 1,473. So we're not quite to the daily limit. That's exciting, that's exciting. Because I don't know about you guys, but I usually skip breakfast in preparation. And that doesn't count with the snacking beforehand. So, then we move on to dessert. And we're gonna count for about 500, because who only eats one slice of pumpkin pie or apple pie, and we'll say one piece of pecan pie is usually rich enough. That's substantial. So, we are going to move on. How does our meal add up? Drum roll, a little bit of math, still under budget. Everyone loves to be under budget. Here we are. Now, 6 tips for banishing the guilt, because we all have it. We wake up the day before, we think, oh, we're going to be good. Or we think, absolutely not, I'll worry about it January 1st because Christmas is coming up too. And this is just, it's something that brings anxiety into our lives. And the holidays are already full of that enough. Here are a couple tips to help you to wake up the day after Thanksgiving and not be so concerned. First of all, eat a light breakfast. This will help you not be blackout starving by the time dinner comes around. 2 scrambled eggs are about 180 calories, so that's not gonna, it'll tip you over the 1,000, but maybe you won't want to go back for seconds as much. Second tip, begin the meal with a glass of water. This is gonna put something in your tummy before you start eating, and you may be full before you have the opportunity to go back for seconds. Third, serve yourself smaller portion sizes. I don't know about you guys, but at my house, we have 1,000 different things spread out on the table. And all of it is so good. And not only is it good, but I want to eat all of it. However, if you give yourself small portion sizes, then you'll be able to enjoy all of it without being up to here in gravy. Also, slowing down and enjoying each bite. We, in our society, like to rush through everything. Everything has to be done fast and on to the next thing. And when this floods into eating, we don't get to enjoy mashed potatoes and gravy, like the taste of it that is just amazing. Or cranberry sauce, which some people don't like for some reason, and I don't know why. But we only get it on the holidays. And so just slowing down, taking a couple minutes or just a couple seconds to enjoy the taste of the food that you don't get except for on the holidays. Number 5, enjoy one glorious plate. Get your plate out, go down the line if you guys have the buffet style like we do. And when you're putting things on your plate, know okay, this is my one plate. What do I want on it? Make it pretty, make it what you want to be, and then sit back and just enjoy that plate when it's done. And number 6, compensate with exercise. This is the fun part. Boom! In 30 minutes, this is how, if you do want to go back for seconds, you can compensate. A lot of the portions on your plate are right around the 200 calorie, that's about how much they are. except for, yeah, actually all of them. Other than cranberry sauce. If you want to go back for that, it's only 100 calories per serving. Otherwise, you run around 200. So, if you stretch for 30 minutes or do yoga, you're looking at 178 calories of sweat. And if you have an elliptical and want to get real crazy, you can burn off 2 servings of seconds. And this is it. So you'll notice up there that there's calories in and there's calories out. When we're trying to focus on health and not being stressed, this is something, we live in a world that's saturated with do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. So sometimes it's helpful to just have the knowledge of how much things cost and what the expenditure is. And I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Just have one question though. I want to know how
I'll
many,
leave that up if anyone wants to write that down.
how many calories do you burn sleeping? Because inevitably, after the big meal, that happens.
Here, here.
Turkey.
Tryptophan, I remember that word. It was my friend. Our second speaker tonight is Dan Carlin. Dan is a transplant from New Jersey to Idaho. He encountered Toastmasters in New Jersey more than 29 years ago. I thought you were only 29. His story, while unusual, includes several features that are common to many other Toastmasters, and he thinks his experience might encourage others to take the same journey. He will tell us why he joined and what he has learned along the trip. His talk is 13 to 15 minutes, and it is entitled, My Journey Through Toastmasters.
People join Toastmasters for a wide variety of reasons. Teachers have passed through the Toastmasters organization. You'd be surprised that a person would choose the profession of teaching if he or she was audience shy, but it happens. We've had lawyers. There are a variety of different specialties in law. You can commit yourself to sitting behind a desk and never having to face a group. But all the money is in the showpiece areas, such as litigation. And when a lawyer has decided he wants to do that, he may discover he doesn't have the personality for it. And Toastmasters will find a way to bridge that gap. For some strange reason, we've actually had quite a few accountants. Maybe the reason is they are often called on the spot in a matter of minutes to present some finding or to argue some case, some commitment, some purchase, or reason not to. And they might not have the same job if they hem and haw and defer to the administration on the matter, because the administration might find itself in deep trouble, and they're going to blame the accountant for not setting them straight. For the same reason, we've had executives come through. In fact, I intend to give Mr. Blad a handful of packets. What does Toastmasters offer you if you find someone in your staff or on the city council, perhaps, who might benefit from being able to form arguments cogently and quickly and still be effective? You're going to be a better executive. You're going to be a better administrator. I've also seen several people come through Toastmasters for therapy. One teacher had a stroke and was unable to do her job. She wanted to recover, at least to the point of being able to demonstrate what being a teacher meant. Her stroke affected her speaking ability as well as some of her mobility. By the time she had given her 7th or 8th speech in the main classical Toastmasters program, at a party, her husband mentioned to the entire group that he noticed a substantial improvement in her abilities just over the course of those 8 speeches, about 10 months, close to a year. She subsequently went on to become the president of the club and stayed with the club, and the club grew and thrived under her leadership as well as it has under any of our leadership. And I was a past president of the club too. Another very important member, Hugh Owen, had a stroke. He was a businessman, did a lot of work on marketing on radio in the days before television, but a stroke severely limited his abilities. He came to every Toastmasters meeting. His wife drove him and usually arranged for me to drive him back home because we lived not too far apart. He walked up to the front, gave speeches, leaning on his cane almost every time, so often he would have to steady himself on the lectern, and his gestures were obviously limited by not being able to use both hands. But he fought it every step of the way. He was finally sidelined from Toastmasters by a 3rd, then a 4th, and then a 5th and a 6th stroke. All those happened in the hospital. He is still the only one of a club that I was a member of who died when he was actually a member of the club. We've mourned other members or past members of our club, but Hugh Owen left a deep imprint on all of us. We had a special memorial ceremony for him. But I'm not any of those. I'm not a teacher, I'm not an executive. I met George O'Brien in Seattle when I was visiting mutual friends in September of 1987. And while we were out to dinner one night, George went on and on about the power and the virtue of Toastmasters. And I was very impressed, and I filed that information away. A little over a year and a half later, I found myself in much the same situation that Brian Blad was in. Accidentally, I became the candidate for governor of New Jersey back in '89. And a few days later, I assembled what I somewhat laughingly called my team. And I sat at the center, and they sat in a horseshoe, and fired questions at me. And after about 3 or 4 seconds, I had an epiphany. George O'Brien's glowing resume, glowing reports of Toastmasters came back to me in a sudden rush. And it's something of the measure of how powerful George's delivery was that it only took a year and a half for me to follow through on his guidance. And I joined Toastmasters, but this was now in the spring. The club met in the basement of a library that did not have air conditioning. And that basement room got suffocatingly hot and humid during the summer. So the club simply took off July and August. So when I joined in late May, I had only 1 month to become familiar with the habits and the style of the club before I was committed to actually doing something. Before the break, I told the VP of Education that I wanted to give my icebreaker on the first meeting back, which committed me. I had to follow through. I gave my icebreaker. It was written out, printed on my computer, 3 sheets of paper, and I held the lectern. And the only reason I let go of the lectern was to change pages. But I knew enough to lift my eyes up and interact with the audience every now and then. And that was made possible because I had read this icebreaker some 20 or 30 times. But even before that, I had an insight. I was at a candidates forum at one point. I was an independent nominee, and the Democrats and Republicans could basically ignore us. So even though this was a full-on candidates forum organized by the League of Women Voters, the Democrat and Republican candidates for governor thumbed their noses. They weren't going to get any votes or lose any votes by not attending. But when it was all over, the moderator came up to me and thanked me. She congratulated me for being the only candidate there, and there were 4 of us, who adhered to the specified time limits. Toastmasters had already begun to sink and burrow itself under my skin. But the icebreaker was somewhat traumatic. I've given something similar to that here in the past, so some of you know just how traumatic it might have been. But even worse was the speech I gave about a month later. This was toward mid-October, the last meeting we were going to have before Election Day. And I insisted on being put on the agenda for a speech. In the manual, it says, "Be in earnest." I remember the last line of the speech because it connotated just what I was being in earnest about. I managed to get out a vote for me and then turn control back over to the Toastmaster. I don't remember anything else I said, but apparently it worked because I went on to the 3rd speech, which in the manual was organize your speech. This was a subject, I chose the subject because I had already given the speech in my mind over and over again, but not in the form of a speech, in the form of a letter to the editor. And at one point I actually used technology to send the contents of this letter to every single member of Congress, telling them what I thought they should do and why. So I was ready for this speech. And even though it was my own speech, it made a very, very big impression on me. Halfway through, I suddenly felt I was on autopilot. A part of me was sitting on my shoulder, watching the audience, enjoying my experience, and enjoying my enjoyment of giving the speech. The insight was, an organized speech practically gives itself. If you do it right, the nature of the organization that you have chosen, and there are a variety of different organizations, they're not always the same beginning, body, conclusion, although that's highly recommended. You can vary it. Organization is the key to the kingdom. From then on, speeches 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 10 were fun. I was hooked. But many people join Toastmasters expecting that their career in Toastmasters will be to get them through the 10 speeches with the building blocks and how to put the building blocks together. And when they reach 10, they become a competent Toastmaster in the old, very old program, competent communicator in the newer but still old program. There's nothing parallel in pathways, but you still get intermediate recognitions. But those 10 speeches are regarded as the learning experience. Everything after that is incidental. So many members join, stick it out for 10 speeches, improve, and then say bye. And that's unfortunate, but I didn't really believe any differently myself for a while. But Barbara Owen came up to me one meeting and asked if I could chauffeur you to a district conference that was taking place the following Saturday and Sunday. I didn't know what went on at district conferences. I had no idea how high regard many of the senior members of the district had for you. So I wasn't quite ready for that experience. The combination of the workshops, the special speeches, and topping it all off, the contests, transformed my Toastmasters experience. I learned that there was so much more than just those 10 speeches. I had 2 reactions with the contestants, the contest and the contestants. I don't remember what specifically it was. It might have been humorous, might have been the international speech contest, plus one other, because there was a fall conference at that time. But I had 2 reactions, and in discussions with many other Toastmasters from around the district, which included New York City, Long Island, downstate New York, and most of the northern half of New Jersey. I learned that those two reactions are quite similar among everybody who attends any contest, not just the district conferences. The quality of the speech at the district level is so high, you can be nothing but intimidated. But after you learn from the interviews that some of those people have been with Toastmasters for maybe 6 months, a year, others have been in Toastmasters for 5 or 10 years, it sinks into you, they started out where I started out. If they could do it, then there's so much more that I can do too. You, Owen, was only one of my mentors. When the club moved at one point, I went through their archive and I discovered some notes about past meetings. Sometime during the 60s, Toastmasters International changed their bylaws to formally allow women to join the clubs. Prior to that point, it was not discouraged, but it was not officially recognized. I knew that my club, Ridgewood Toastmasters, was different, because when I first contacted the president, it turned out to be Ruth Glenner. And I don't believe she was the first woman elected as president of my club. She certainly wasn't the last. There were several other members that, as I worked through the Toastmasters program, their comments, their own performances, especially with things like table topics and evaluations, impressed me so much that I began to get a glimpse of what Toastmasters could do for me and for anyone who joins. One of the things I learned very early on, especially about the club I joined, but as I got around to visiting other clubs as area governor, area director, and district conferences, Toastmasters value ideas. We think. We don't rate the content of your speech, but we appreciate it. And that meant a lot to me. There was a line in Other People's Money, the movie with Danny DeVito a while back. He who dies with the most money wins. Recently I heard a variation of that. He who dies with the most toys wins. Some of you might be familiar with my symptom, which is he who dies with the most books wins. So I value ideas, and Toastmasters was not only refreshing, but even inspiring. You do Toastmasters at your own pace. It took me 2 years to get through the Competent Communicator Manual the first time. And it took me 26 years to get my DTM. During those 26 years, I saw some half dozen people get not one DTM, but 2 or more. That didn't intimidate me. I was working at my own turtle's pace. But the DTM is one of my proudest achievements, and I am just as proud to bring the experience, the insight, and the promise of Toastmasters from New Jersey to Idaho. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you for sharing your journey, Dan. One of the things Dan was talking about, he used the term DTM. That's a Distinguished Toastmaster. And it takes a lot of achievement to get to that point. We've changed our program from twice now, from the original program that was set out by Mr. Smiley and Smedley.
Smile Toastmasters.
He's not here.
Happy though.
I like to get people's names right. I'm so sorry. And the newest program we have today is called Pathways. And one of the things that I think a lot of people are going to find very exciting about it, it's not just speeches. It's not just evaluations. It's not just the leadership roles that you have to become a distinguished leader. They're teaching us things, and for old dogs like me, I'm so excited. They're teaching us how to write blogs. They're teaching us how to do things online that I never would have thought I would do. I thought it would be fun, but it would take me too long to learn it, because when I read with every comma. I read with feeling. I don't necessarily read for content. Once I get through the feeling, if I have the energy, I'll read it again. It's like a movie. The first time you see it, you're just in the movie, and the next time you see all the little things that maybe weren't supposed to be in there. So Toastmasters is a great way to do that and to build so much rapport. The next part of our meeting is going to be our table topics portion. Now, we do table topics before we do evaluations to allow the evaluators time to continue to write down the things that they want to share with the speakers. And tonight, our table topics master is Terry Yen.
This is my favorite part. When you heard that the theme today was water, I want you to think back to what your first image in your mind was. Do you remember what your first image was? Well, I've decided to do Toastmasters table topics today based on the images that a person can get from water and the words that water can be. The first image I saw was not exactly this one. It was Helen Keller with her hands under the water faucet, under the pump, and understanding water for the first time. That was my immediate response. Let's see.
She's an evaluator.
Well, that's true. Evaluators kind of have to go
Yeah.
last. But I'm having trouble because everybody who's already got a position has to go last. And I have to start with somebody who actually understands.
I'm good.
All right, Christy. The first thing I thought of when I found out today's word was water, was Helen Keller. What was yours? Keep the paper.
When I hear the word water, I'm instantly transported back to the Gulf Coast of Florida, off of Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel Island. And my favorite memory of that area is walking on the beach at night and the phosphorescence in the sand as my footprints lit up. I absolutely love warm water. I got trapped in the bathtub last night. It's not a great memory. I had a knee replacement and it isn't quite where it needs to be. So we had an interesting water experience last night. It was warm water, it just wasn't everything it was supposed to be. When you're in the Gulf Coast and you're in that warm water, it is I believe it has health properties. I spent every morning kayaking on a week's vacation, and I don't really kayak like in normal life, but you get me in that warm water, man, I could be out there all day long. So anytime the word water is presented, I'm transported back to the Gulf Coast and Sanibel Island.
I remember the first time I found water from an ocean to be warm. I'm from Southern California. Water is cold in Southern California, even in August. And then we went to New Jersey to visit my cousins, and there were crabs living in that thing. And it's wet, and it's warm. It's amazing. The next thing that I thought of when I heard that it was water was on my screen in the office, was the word agua caliente reservation. Now, the reason it's on there is because 1 month from today, I will be at this reservation in Southern California attending a class. And it's a beautiful reservation. Agua caliente means hot water. So let's ask Al what the best thing is about hot water in the desert.
Is there hot water in the desert? Because if it's hot, it's going to turn to steam and it's going to disappear on you. In Southern California, a friend of mine took me out to the desert one time in a van. There were my 3 kids, his wife, his son. You want to talk about hot? Put 5+ people in a van. It gets really hot. Then you have that other moisture you were talking about. Gas, air. Hot water in the desert, any water you need in the desert. But finding water in the desert is what's always fascinating to me. Growing up, I'm a movie fan. I'm a movie nut. Just ask my wife. You know, you walk into our house and see all the videos and everything. I learned so much from movies about how to survive in the desert. About barrel cactuses, how to cut them open, and what you can drink, and what you need. And hot, cold, it's kind of a relative thing. If you're in 118 degree temperature, 80 degree water is kind of cool. If you're in Pocatello in December, and you're trying to drink water that's 45, it's still good. So water temperature is relative. And how many of you have gone to lava hot springs and how hot that water is, and you get in, oh, but then you're in it, and you're in it, and you don't want to get out. That's what I think of with water.
Mayor Blad, would you like to play? I have one special for you.
Let's give it
Targeted.
a try.
So as I was looking online for things about water, I came across Agua Inc., Every Drop Counts, and it's basically water treatment. And I figure you have to deal with water treatment. On the International Space Station, though, the water is being reused quite quickly. And I'm thinking, I would like there to be some time in between it being provided by me and then being cleaned and drank by me. And so I was wondering, Mayor Blad, what time is the perfect amount of time in between making water and drinking?
Oh boy, what is the amount of time from making water to drinking water to me would mean you would really truly need to know the time it takes to make water. If you don't know how much time it takes to make water, how in the world can you know how much time it's going to take to treat it so that you can actually drink it, yet to make water again? But it's interesting when I'm asked about this, the treatment of water. What do you use treated water for? If you're on the space station, if you're on a space station, obviously there's only one thing you can use water for. And there's only one place you get water from. I'm not planning on ever going to a space station. So my thought is, what does it really take to treat water the correct way so that we can drink it today? We have wonderful plants out there. A facility that will treat any water, all of our water, all at the same time. And when it comes out of the end of the plant, it is perfectly clean and drinkable. I would not be my first one. I would not be the first one to be putting my lips around the hose to drink the water at the end of the plant. Thank you very much.
Would you like to participate?
Sure.
Okay, let me show you the one I've got for you. There's a sign, warning, lake is contaminated with dihydrogen oxide. In other words, water. This is what kids need, this is why kids need to take more STEM classes in my mind. What do you wish you had learned in elementary school that you didn't? Yes, 1 to 2 minutes.
Okay, well first I have to remember elementary school, figure out what I didn't learn in elementary school. Oh man, this is a tough one. Let me think back to elementary. Put me on the spot, thanks.
Times tables.
Yeah, times table. Back to elementary school. I probably would like to focus. Oh man, this is hard. I can't even remember that far back.
You can go to high school if you like.
I don't know if that's any better. It's more of a blur than elementary school is, but you know, back in high school, I probably would have liked to spend more time learning to speak, talk. You know, that's what really got me into Toastmasters. Is I was thinking back to high school, and my speech teacher, she hated me probably because I was kind of the class clown, and I could talk when I'm sitting out there in the crowd, but you put me up here and it all goes out the window. And so that's what really, you know, back in high school, I'd say speech. And that's what brought me, you know, here to this group.
Now, I don't know you, and so Tina, hi. So I don't know how much you would spend for water, but I saw this online today. It's called agua, and it is water with a tiny little bit of watermelon in it, and it's $1.50 a bottle. And I'm wondering, for $1.50 a bottle, what should be in that water?
So, I'm Gina. This is my first time at Toastmasters. And I'm excited to be here. Al invited me, so thank you, Al. And I got a real treat because we've only been here 3 months. And we got to hear the mayor speak about what there is to do here. So that's kind of exciting and how it's going to grow. So, how much would I pay for this water? Well, $1.50, I guess, and what would be in it? So in my opinion, first of all, I would want to make sure that if it's in a plastic bottle, there's no contamination from the plastic. And preferably, I would like it to be in a glass bottle. I would pay the $1.50 for it if it had less contamination in it. And also, if it was drinkable for my son. However, hearing the mayor speak tonight, I trust the water here in this area over this. And I probably wouldn't pay for this, I'm sorry.
Madam Toastmaster, how much more time do I have? Can I do a couple more? One more?
One more, if you dying to do one more?
I'm dying to do one more.
All right, do one more.
Okay, so who's dying to play? Al. Come on up. You're the perfect one.
Am I going to regret this?
Water question.
No, actually, it's the perfect one for you because you're a music lover.
Oh.
Al, this group, see this group?
Yeah.
Those are his relatives.
They're a European dance pop group. They're the ones that did Barbie Girl. Which would you wear? The spiked haircuts or the bald? What's your preference?
Seems pretty obvious. You knew it would be this one, right? Well, I'm an old guy. I don't want to lose any more hair. I've lost enough hair. I'm happy with the platinum blonde stuff I have, but the green's kind of a look that I like. I'm sure my grandkids would have mixed feelings about it, but probably say, that's cool, Grandpa. Certainly the youngest would. My daughter, well, she knows a lot of people with hair colors much stranger than that. So I think she would be surprised to discover Grandpa could be that, or Dad, in my daughter's case, could be that cool. The grandkids want to be, but the daughter, it would be kind of a shock to her. Can I, like, grow a little taller and a little skinnier like him, too, if I do the hair?
Absolutely.
Then I'm set. That's what I want
Toastmaster, would you like to come?
So the word of the day hasn't been used, and as you can tell by that's okay. Everybody gets 1 point for thinking about it. Prim was the word of the day, and as you can tell by this illustrious group of people, Prim has been redefined by our Smile Toastmaster group. And since we're running a little short on time, I'm going to bring up the general evaluator, who's going to introduce the evaluators for the speeches.
Our first evaluator, since he was just up here, I'm going to bring him back up here. Al Coons.
My answer's still green. Speech evaluations have really a few purposes. One, the obvious one, is to give the speaker feedback. As Lori said, not only what you did well, but what you could improve on or work on. And actually, I've got a form that I sketched out some notes here that looks for what she excelled at in the speech, what Stephanie could work on to improve it, not necessarily bad, but just, you know, to take her to the next level. And then what she might try to really challenge herself. The other thing that the speech evaluation does is it gives you, I've been a manager and done performance appraisals, a whole lot like that. Presentation, hitting the right balance between you need to work on this and you do really well here, and there's a lot of other things in life where you need to give people feedback and evaluation. This really helps that. So Stephanie's one of our newer members, and every time she speaks, I'm amazed at how good a speaker she is coming in. She's got a few qualities that are really great. One is her personality comes through, the body language, and what we call vocal variety, which is changing the pace of your words, the volume of your words, to draw the audience in and help the audience know where you're at. She talks about things she cares about, and that really comes through. And she lets her personality comes through, which really helps her get to the audience, or draw the audience in. One thing you might do, however, is your vocal variety tends to be faster and louder. Sometimes look for opportunity to talk a little slower. Suck us in. Make us listen to you. Slow down your words. You know, go the other direction a bit when it makes sense. to really challenge yourself, your personality carries your speeches a lot of the time. Come up with something for a speech that is serious. You know, to give a talk, what's the term for a talk at a funeral? You know, do something like that, that you need to restrain yourself, pull in your personality, stretch. I mean, the opposite of stretching yourself, but something to stretch yourself to the side where you need, where you've not demonstrated the ability yet, as much as your personality coming through, which really carries you, like I said. Mr. General Nevada.
Yeah, not only does she get a verbal, but he actually will give her the written form as well. She'll have that. Part of the Pathways program, it actually kept all up on the internet at the Toastmasters International website, so she can evaluate and review, and each of us can actually put comments there if we want. So there's all types of ways of helping you improve. At this time, I'd like to bring our team coach, club coach, district support, Christine.
In lieu of a guided evaluation form, I have selected a few things that I like to look for lacking guidance in a speech with an evaluation form. What do I look for when I evaluate someone's speech? I always enjoy listening to Dan's presentations. And one of the things that I thought you did exceptionally well tonight was the use of the note cards. Now, you were tied to those note cards. That was pretty clear. But you still continued to make great eye contact, to move around, and the note cards were a tool and not a crutch. And so I was very impressed with how you handled those note cards this evening. One of the skills that you are also excellent at, that I aspire to, and I have started to hear this in your presentations, is your thought when you need to think, when you're taking that moment, it is just filled with silence and not ums, ands, or so's. I am not that good. I tend to throw in some juicy, long ums. And I really have started to notice how you stop all the verbiage and allow yourself the opportunity to think before you go on. And I really appreciate that. One of the things that you comment on was the 10 speeches and how sometimes people finish those and move on. And I just wanted to point out for our newbies or visitors that those 10 speeches are just the foundation. They're the foundation of what we offer, and they're the beginning of a really great journey through Toastmasters. We can't give an evaluation without giving something to improve upon. And what I noticed tonight, and one of the things that I really look for, is that well-defined opening and well-defined close that tie together regardless of how the speech is organized in the beginning. And that's what I didn't see. So I think that every speech is strengthened because the audience doesn't know where you're going, and we don't know when you've arrived. And so that's what makes that opening and closing, the continuity of them, so important. Your voice is very, very easy to listen to, and it's also kind of in a similar range. So I think that you could probably pump up some vocal variety in one way or the other. But as always, I think you brought a very nice view of a Toastmaster journey and some of the things that we can learn. And as you're taking this tour, I'm thinking about some of the Toastmasters who have meant so much to me and have touched my life, and that my mentor has earned his 12th DTM.
Well, I'm just still working on my first one.
Amen, brother.
Actually, there's a lot of people in this club that says I should have just signed it off because I've been a member since the 80s from different California clubs to here. But I purposely am doing all the programs and getting them all signed off so I can tell, as Vice President of Education, this is what you got to do. I did it. You can't too. You can be there. You can go there. And when I'm giving counsel, it's because I've walked a mile in those boxes. I appreciate both evaluations. At this time, I'd like to get our timers report.
Okay,
Go ahead.
the mayor went over 17 seconds.
Thank you.
You did awesome. It was awesome. At 20 minutes and 17 seconds. Stephanie, yours was 6 minutes and 37 seconds, which was it then. Dan had a whopping 16 minutes and 40 seconds. I was a little worried you didn't see me put my signs up.
I did.
He's working on that.
On the table topics, Christy had a minute 29. You had a minute 4. The mayor had a minute 37. And I can't remember your name.
Zach.
Zach, sorry, I put you guy. 1 minute and 15, you did awesome. And was it Gina or Regina? Oh, okay, okay. Yours was, okay, so I got wrapped up when you said, and I forgot to start. So I only made it to 37 seconds, so I know you made it over a minute. Sorry. I got a minute, wrapped up what you were saying, I went, oh, shoot. And Al got a minute and 3 seconds, he's waiting for me to put that card up.
No.
It was like, okay. And then on the evaluations, he got 3 minutes and 39 seconds, which was kind of funny.
I went over more than
You
the
went,
mayor.
yeah, you went over.
Bad example.
So with Christy, she got 3 minutes and 37 seconds.
Thank you.
All really good though, I enjoyed it, right?
Virginia, that's an accomplishment because there's so many people in this room that when we started Toastmasters, didn't get to the first minute.
Yeah.
First
Yes.
30 seconds.
Or more like 30 seconds.
It'd be a problem if you had
So I'd like to get our timers report. Got our timers report. I'd like to get our grammarian's report. She looks so prim and proper back there.
Oh
She-
my gosh!
No.
No!
I should stand up and
No!
I save it for the end.
Very last.
You. And I was going to say, well, I'm sitting here nice and prim, but anyway. Just ruined that one for me. So apparently it was used once, except for twice, because Lori
Introduced it.
introduced it and reminded us that we needed to use it. So that was great. Stephanie, my favorite thing, one glorious plate. I loved you using the one glorious plate, and also your boom. Just gotta say that. Quite a few ums, ahs, and so's today.
I was killing it.
I know you were just and a couple double words. Dan, my favorites. Power and virtue of Toastmasters. Toastmasters had already begun to burrow itself under my skin. Love those pictures. Couple eyes. Aye. Lori, stunning job today. Your wordage, your speaking, I didn't. Oh my. You were like, boom. I'll steal that from Stephanie. Let's see, table topics. Chris had a couple of Andy So's. Al Norvik, you had a couple double words. I was surprised. Brian, great job. Zach, you were the king of the ums today. You got 5. Gina, just a couple. Very good for your first time up. Al Coons, yeah, just a couple doubles. And Ann and what?
They're coming back.
No, they're not. Chris during eval was, I really did that twice. I really. Tara had
Well, no, I
like
bet I really.
one, I just said like. That's my word, like.
I was worried I said more because I wasn't paying attention to it.
And then Al Norvik actually did use the word of the day along with Lori. She snuck that one.
Thank you. I wanted to catch the people doing words that we don't hear very often. That's why I like to pick the word prim. Other words that I use, I schedule them out throughout the year. And I'm reading more and finding things to do that help you sound like you're intelligent. Okay. Evaluation of the meeting, as I said, Regina, it's nice to and Zach again, join in with it. It's fun. It's fun. And the topics, love the speeches, and I will turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster.
Thank you for that, Teresa. I'm just going to walk out here like this for about 3
You
days
should.
now. I'm so
You
excited.
should.
And I have to tell you guys, we applaud, which seems like a really strange thing to do. And I meant to tell you early on, I'm really glad that you guys did it so well, because I was going to tell you the reason that we applaud is to raise the energy in the room and to build rapport and to encourage one another. I was going to tell you, for those who chose not to applaud, we could just go out in the hallway and do calisthenics to raise the energy between speeches, but I didn't even have to say that. You all just participated well. At this point in time, I'm going to close this portion of the meeting and turn it back to our president, but I want to thank you all for giving me the honor of being your Toastmaster for the evening.
I want to thank all of our guests, our speaker, Mayor Blad, Zach, you've been here before, Gina, please come again. We're here to practice, to get better. That's the whole point of being here, is to improve ourselves. I won't be here next week. There's a Christmas show, Marsh Valley Performing Arts Center next week, and I'm going to play some guitar and keyboard, and I need to practice, so I'm going to have to go to the practice, so Al will probably be in charge. We should thank Don Aslett for letting us use the Museum of Clean. It's a great facility, and he's been gracious in letting us have cookies and stuff in his Museum of Clay. We left it slightly dirty.
Take all the cookies you want home.
Please.
Take
Wow,
information,
postcard.
invite your friends. Please bring other members here. The more we have, the
More
more
fun.
ideas I get to steal. Is there any other business? Anything anyone would like to say? Any comments?
I really appreciate the invite. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, and we normally don't dress this nice. We just knew we were filming, so. Normally when you come casual, people come straight from work.
Sure,
Not too
ruined
bad.
it for everybody.
No pajamas, but you know, you can wear the bunny slippers, but normally we're more relaxed.
I don't know, dress for success.
That's right.
Yeah, it's up to you.
If there is nothing else, then we'll adjourn until next week. Thank you very much.